Hi everyone, Chrissy here, and I am going to show you how to make these cards using some amazing ThermOWeb supplies. It is going to make your Father's Day cards super easy. We all need those cards for the men in our lives, whether they're grandfathers, fathers, stepfathers, friends, boyfriends, whatever. So I'm going to show you how to make a bunch of cards all at once. So the first thing I did is I started out with some GINA K premium white cardstock. These are sold by ThermOWeb, but it's under the GINA K name. She is the designer of this collection. So she has some fantastic cardstocks. They are so nice and thick. So I just secured that down, protected my crafting area. I used washi tape, and then I grabbed a stencil and I put that down on top of it and I secured that as well. You can see I'm adding the DECO foil gel using a palette knife. You could probably use like a piece of cardstock. It just is a lot easier to kind of scrape it off. You want a thinner layer if you can. So it's easier to use a palette knife because it's easier to scrape it off. So you want to let that dry. You can kind of see on there it's light. It's white paste on a white piece of cardstock, so it's going to be difficult to see. But you'll see, we'll activate that in a little bit, and you'll see how amazing it is with the foil. So I die cut the center piece out. I used the GINA K large rectangle stitched die. And I just held it in place with washi tape. I didn't want it to move. I was afraid that it was going to move. So now both of those have the transfer gel on it, the dry transfer gel, because I transfer gelled it first, let it dry, then die cut it. I think that's the best way to do it so it matches up. Then I just put it in parchment paper and ran it through my laminator. I did that off camera, so while they were running through the laminator, I decided to die cut this piece of the black cardstock, which is also GINA K cardstock. I love using her cardstock because it's so nice and thick. My cards are so nice and sturdy. And I used that same die set. I just used a smaller rectangle, and I stamped it in Versamark ink, or Versamark ink, I should say. It's like a watermark ink. It's great if you just kind of want to do a tone-on-tone stamping, but for this, I'm going to heat emboss it. So I use that, and then I just put white embossing powder on there, you can see, and now I'm going to activate it with my heat gun. So you can tell right away that it's working because it goes from powder to a nice, shiny, thick, solid material on there. So you can see that I've done that. Now I did have a few extra little specks, so I scratched them away with a craft knife. You can also put down some chalk, some powder or some chalk powder before you heat emboss, before you even stamp, and that should get rid of that. I didn't do that this time. So I peeled off the foil. See, I did two different colors. I did pewter and I did deep blue. I thought that that was kind of a nice masculine color combo. I know sometimes it can be tricky. You think of foil and you think that it's automatically feminine, right? But that is not the case whatsoever. Using some of these darker colors and combining them, I think that we can definitely make masculine cards. We just kind of have to think outside of the box and look at it in a different way. We can't just look at it as all sparkly and shiny, right? So using my 3D foam squares, I decided to take that outer frame that we cut and place it on a card base. It's that same black cardstock I used earlier. I just took a sheet of 8.5 by 11 paper and I cut it in half, and then I scored it at 5.5. So it's a standard A2 sized card. It's just top folding instead of side folding. So that became my nice little frame there. And now this, my centerpiece, remember that's the blue, I am just going to match it up and put it right in the middle of that frame. Now you could add 2 layers onto that smaller piece if you wanted to have it pop up a little bit more. I didn't want too much dimension on here because I'm also adding dimension to this piece as well. So I figured that might be a little too much. I'm all for dimension and sturdy cards, but I thought that might be a little bit of overkill. But if it's something that you're not going to mail and you're just going to hand to someone, by all means, go for it. It'd probably be pretty cool. So using my that same die cut set, it comes with some stars in there. So I die cut some stars, and I used the foil mates, which I just flashed across the screen about a few seconds ago. Those are great. They're already pre-printed sheets that you don't have to stamp or do anything. You just put them in parchment paper and run them through your laminator with foil, and they're cut already. So I just did some stars and stuck them on there. So you can see here's all 3 cards. I kind of kept the same color scheme, and these are the dies. That's how I made that frame on that one. I just put the two dies together and then I created a nice frame. So I kept the same color combination. It went nice and fast. I had no scraps left over. This is a great way to kind of get rid of your extra pieces of foil that you might have. So I hope you will give this a try. Thanks for watching.